Hello and welcome to the Confusion Wrestling Podcast, the last bastion of independent wrestling. I'm your host, Rob Kammer, and, well, let's talk about bad wrestling. It's been kind of a recurring theme in the background of the Confusion podcast family to speak about, we'll call it, B-grade wrestling, like B-movies and whatnot. The slasher films of professional wrestling. Maybe I wouldn't go slasher films when death matches are running around. But speaking with guests such as Never Wrong Nick Bull and talking about Ultra Clash and Grandmasters of Wrestling. Keep that thought in mind. Who, in addition to talking with a starling who participated in what would later be called Grandmasters of Wrestling, and even go so far and so forth of talking with the Wizard CZ and Joe Monroe about the gimmicks of the new generation in WWF. It's been hiding in the background for the last couple of months here at the Confusion Studios. As such, when the opportunity arose to talk about, I don't know, maybe even redemption, but the next phase in what had been bad professional wrestling, or at least regarded as bad professional wrestling, like I had to jump in. So we are going to take a look at Maccabiah Mania III, The Last Hurrah, hosted in New Jersey. It's the third part in what we would call the Grandmasters Wrestling series. So a little bit of history before we jump into the event itself. Maccabiah Mania is a fundraiser basically for the Maccabiah Games, which is a Jewish version of the Olympics, to put it down in its like most base terms. Hosted and promoted by Olympic level fencer Jeff Bukantz. And this is just like one of his, like, a lifelong wrestling fan, just one of his crazy ways to try to fundraise and get money to help, because most Olympic, let's face it, most athletes are amateur level. And when I say amateur level, I mean they're not being paid by a promotion or a major company to do their athletic prowess. They are reliant on sponsors, on donations, etc., 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 to help them fulfill their life dreams, almost like independent wrestlers for the most part. And one of the way Bukantz did this was through wrestling fundraisers. He promoted two shows, one in 1993 and 1997, entitled Maccabiah Mania, with the intent of raising money, fundraising. And like, these were probably never meant to see, like, they were recorded obviously, but probably never meant to see like the light of day. However, somebody got their hands on some rights, and in the heyday of dollar DVDs at Walmart, put together two DVD sets called Grandmasters of Wrestling 1 and 2, which basically feature these Maccabiah Mania events. And they featured a veritable who's who of professional wrestling. As for the most part, the problem is, we'll say with it was that most of the people that were involved, especially the big names, were past their prime, and some of them weren't great to begin with, and then just age got a hold of with them, or B, their style of wrestling was not great. In retrospect, and I'm not saying they were bad wrestlers, but I'm looking at like a Killer Kowalski, whose style may not be what we are looking for in the year, 2025, let alone, when these DVDs came out in 2010. And as such, they definitely come off as almost kind of like play wrestling, just a guy with a bunch of money, just paying a bunch of names to show up. And at times there's questionable booking decisions, blah, blah, blah. But, the thing to remember is, as for the most part, Bukantz, wasn't a professional wrestling promoter. He wasn't a booker. He was just a fan who was just trying to raise money for, a good cause in his eyes. And, so when that comes into play, it's it's kind of required to soften your stance about the Grandmasters of Wrestling a little bit, because again, like, they probably were never meant to see the light of day and be critiqued by folks such as myself, or one of the people who brought them to spotlight being Brian Zane of Wrestling with Wregret. And as such, because of Brian's reviews, it put a whole new set of eyes on that product. And enough so that in the year 2025, 28 years after the last Maccabiah Mania, we got a third one, held in conjunction with ISPW out of New Jersey and Wrestling with Wregret, Brian Zane. Bukantz put on the third show, the final hurrah, if you will. And we have that now. Well, that's what we're going to do. So this event, Maccabiah Mania 3, was streamed live on the Wrestling Wregret YouTube channel. So if I like to give my sources when I'm talking about the indies, so you guys can go, if you haven't watched it already, go check it. Check it out. So it's totally free of charge because it's on YouTube. Wrestling with Wregret. Wregret is WREGRET. And so, it was streamed live there, and that's the source I used for it. So let's just go ahead and take a talk about Maccabiah Mania number 3. It was streamed live Sunday, March 2nd, 2025, again from the Wrestling with Wregret YouTube channel with the assistance of ISPW and Jeff Bukantz. Ken Patera and Mike Omowski return for commentary. They were the original commentary team for Maccabiah Mania, or at least most of the chunks of it. Romowski will also double as the ring announcer. The show does start off with a memoriam for participants of the previous Maccabiah Manias who had passed away in the intervening years. And let's point out that there's 28 years in between 2 and 3, and over 30 for between the first one and today. So that is a lot of the original Maccabiah Mania rosters that had passed away, unfortunately. But again, we're also looking at 32 years and guys who were already like in their 50s when Maccabiah Mania started out. It's kind of fair. Then the Z-Man himself, Brian Zane, interrupts. He doesn't interrupt the memorial, but he does interrupt the initial introductions afterwards. He does take credit for this event thanks to the surge in popularity, thanks to Wrestling with Wregret. He will be joining us on commentary tonight as we prepare for our first match. It is Prince Akhenaten versus the Patriot. I'm assuming the Patriot is Salvatore Sincere, speaking of new generation, formerly FKA Tom Brandy, aka Johnny Gunn, and Akhenaten. I have no clue who he is, but he kind of, like, if I squint my eyes, looks like a bloated Lanny Poffo. But like he is the least princely looking prince, especially someone who goes by Akhenaten, that I think I've ever seen. So we're off to a banging start. The Patriot does 4 laps around the ring in the process of this, giving out his little American flags. So, abortions for some, miniature American flags for others, of course. Once the Patriot finally makes it into the ring, Prince jumps the Patriot after, as I said, making several laps around the ring. So he's probably gassed at this point. However, it turns out Prince Akhenaten's one weak spot is his nose, and that's where the Patriot starts the party initially. Got your nose, sucker. And we get a look over there, referee distraction, and he low blows the Prince, who then curly shuffles around the ring. More groin-based offense as the Prince gets a little bit of ring post-itis. However, Prince takes over briefly just to crotch himself on the middle rope, going for that middle rope hip attack kind of thing, but crotches himself on the ropes. Prince comes out of that to get hit with the U.S. Ace Crusher to give the Patriot the win. After the match, we get a ref-assisted wishbone, and then Patriot stuffs a bunch of cash into the Prince's mouth. Is this match good? No, it's not good. Was this match fun? Yes, it was very much fun. So I think we're off to a good start, and it kind of set the pace well, as every opening contest should do, set the pace for kind of what to expect with this show. And what I think what we are going to see is very much tongue-in-cheek and playing, we'll say, to the strengths of the match's various participants. And sometimes, in the case of this match, it's going to be shtick. So we are going to have to like take off our Dave Meltzer glasses for this and just judge matches by whether they're entertaining or not. And let's be realistic, like I can make fun of, the Patriot being like 60 years old and Prince Akhenaten like looking rough, but you know what? It was a fun match. I am down with a match full of low blows. Like I'll just out myself with that. So I had fun. I feel like that's the most important thing. Like regardless of like how technically sound a match may have been. Speaking of this tongue-in-cheek shtick, our second match features Joe Clean, Mr. Clean himself, versus Alex Raymond. I saw a picture of him and like that looks kind of like Mr. Clean, and then like he comes out with gloves and spray, and I'm like, holy poop, man, that is Mr. Clean. And commentary is like putting over how like they've known like 4 different Mr. Cleans, and like how like there was like a contest to be Mr. Clean at one point, and like the commentary as a whole, like it is what it is, but like sometimes it's just golden, and especially when like Brian Zane just kind of takes it, like Zane holds the thing together and kind of keeps it on track as a whole, but there are times where he's either quiet or he's off doing Brian Zane things, and commentary just devolves into like 2 like senior citizens just bouncing off each other, and like that can be entertaining of itself, and it is at various points, I think. You like, don't get me wrong, like it's not always great, but there are times like this Mr. Clean talk where like I am down for it. But anyway, yeah, the match starts with a pip slap with cleaning gloves, and then followed up by cleaning fluid to the eyes. Like, and we're not DQ'd. Evidently, this match is now no DQ, or like we're just not going to call DQs as long as it's part of the shtick. Ryman makes a comeback, culminating with a second rope elbow drop. Then Ryman hoses everybody with the cleaner. Like he's just walking around the ring, spritzing everyone. He's like Artie Zip, like when there's cigarettes afoot. Spit. Anyway, yeah, back in the match, Mr. Clean comes back. Joe Clean comes back with a big comeback sequence, ending with a diving cross body for 2. Clean shines up his head real nice, but misses that headbutt. Dream Killer combo, which is an Orton backbreaker followed by a Death Valley driver, gives Raymond the win. This was a perfectly serviceable match. It's just one of like the little, like, if I have to say things, like as much as I love shtick, like I do, like I dislike like uneven enforcement of the rules. And like, dude, Mr. Clean started off the match with a weapon after the bell rang. Like, that should have been a DQ right there. But other than that, like nitpicking stuff, it was a fine match too. Like, Mr. Clean can work, and he's got shtick. So he was a fine foil to Raymond, who was just the straight man of this setup. So it was fun. It was fine. Our third match is Michael Mars with Toto Atom, turns out, versus Rick Recon. Rick Recon is actually with Toto Atom. My notes are back on this. But Mars is Mr. Motion from the first Maccabiah Mania. Brian Zane puts over the fact that the dude adjusted his tights like 36 times during the course of his match. So ignore my notes where it's Recon with Toto Atom. They don't like announce who Toto Atom is. Like, I just had to like figure out when commentary would start talking about him. Recon leads the feeling out process until he's overcome with cockiness. Mars takes over for a bit until Tom grabs Mars's foot, which this distraction allows Recon to take over. Recon misses a leg drop. Codebreaker gets 2 as Tom puts Recon's foot on the rope. Mars gets to the ropes off the sharpshooter, and commentary really puts over the fact that the last time these two battled, Mars passed out due to Recon's sharpshooter, so they are like at this point like really playing up the sharpshooter attempts. Tom does get taken out accidentally by Recon. Recon goes for the sharpshooter once again and gets rolled up. Wicked small package. 1, 2, 3. Your winner, Michael Mars. Solid match overall. First match without like any real shtick, if you ignore the manager stuff. And commentary was really good at bringing up the history of Mars, and that's something we'll see every now and again. Is the commentary doing what they're supposed to and bring up the background of the match and how chunks of this match like really, really matters. Anyway, next match, it is not my fault. Gene Snitsky taking on Vargas. Snitsky is just here for the larfs, ladies and gentlemen. Doing laps around the ring, like kissing children, helping old ladies across the street, all that good stuff, until he makes it to the ring where he reveals a baby doll in his tights and makes this like a show of it. He's like, look at this placement of it. Oh, I snuck a baby doll into the ring. Somebody chanted like one more time when he was doing it, because he does it several times, and like somebody's just like, one more time, and he goes through with it. However, he does not punt said baby. But Snitsky's just having fun, Maggle, at least until the bell rings. Snitsky turns his back and Vargas attacks. We get lots of headbutts. Vargas is like, how do I want to describe him? He is a Samoan-styled guy from the Caribbean. This is what we're going on here with Vargas. Lots of headbutts. Vargas misses a corner charge. Body slam by Snitsky, complete with crotch lift, because it wouldn't be a body slam at Maccabiah Mania without Romowski going crotch lift. We got a big boot and a choke slam for the win. Nice quick match for Snitsky. Snitsky starts talking to the doll, doing some stretches, checks the wind, and then punts said baby doll because it's not his fault. Match was just, it is what it was. At least Snitsky had some fun, and it was kind of fun watching Snitsky have fun. I'll go along with that. Following this special exhibition match, as Luigi Primo, making the good pizza, takes on Anthony the A, player for the ISPW Tri-State Championship. If you've not seen what a Luigi Primo is, he's a he is a pizza maker who comes to the ring slinging dough. Starts off the match slinging dough. So we got all sorts of Primo shtick with the dough. Romowski points out that this should be a DQ. Also fair. Anthony gets a pizza box, so we got a duel going on here, sword fight style. However, the pizza dough gets boxed. Full Nelson with a pizza sucks chant. Excuse me. Luigi slips out 2 and goes for roll-ups with various lateral presses for 2 off that one. Anthony hits a snake eyes and a back clothesline for 2. Luigi finds his pizza and powers up, diving crossbody, only 2 count off of that. We almost get a rough bump in the corner. However, this distraction allows Anthony to use Primo's bag of flour and get the roll-up to retain the ISPW Tri-State Championship. And again, this match was what it was. If you enjoy this kind of shtick with Luigi Primo, you'll enjoy it. If you didn't, you'll think this match is terrible. That's kind of how a lot of this the night goes. Now we're gonna have a faux straightforward match as the now Hale Collins and Vic Delicious take on Sent to Slaughter, which is Sean Donovan and Dan Maff. Jim Molyneux is the ref for this match, and in addition to being biased, he was best known for being the one of the primary referees for ECW. Sent to Slaughter doesn't want Molyneux to ref the match. They try to count him out. Doesn't work though. Collins and Donovan do start the match when we finally get a match to start. The Now take control for a bit, and Sent to Slaughter want a timeout. The ring talk from Sent to Slaughter is just amazing. Like, just so much just smack talking to the crowd, to other wrestlers, to Jim Molyneux. Just like nobody is safe from the verbal antics of Sent to Slaughter, primarily from Sean Donovan, though Dan Maff gets in there too, and that's mildly entertaining considering he's like just known as this stiff monster. However, like once things get finally Rowan sent to slaughter is in charge of the action, beating down primarily Vic Delicious. We do get a double down after a double clothesline, allowing Delicious to get the hot tag. In the process of all this stuff, Matt accidentally elbows Donovan. Super kick party to give the win. And this was a fun match. I just enjoyed all the trash talking. Like Sean Donovan was like picked up by like every mic possible, like wherever he was, and like I just enjoyed his banter there. So we are getting ready to go to intermission. So let's go ahead and take an intermission for this podcast. Stay tuned. Get yourself an energy drink. Get yourself some coffee, a coffee maker, maybe even WWE merch. And I'll be back. Un momento. Hey folks, MLW Confusion's become a veritable hub of shopping and treats and all that sort of good stuff. Whether you need a sugar-free alternative to energy drinks in the form of Raise Energy, or maybe even, top-of-the-line ice makers, coffee machines, and other household appliances, or, well, let's go crazy, and you can even get WWE licensed apparel all through my links section. All you got to do is wander down to the descriptor of this week's episode, check out the various links, click on them, and go shopping like you normally would. Heck, like, it's no difference. You just came in and just said Rob sent you. And that way, you can get the things you need, maybe even at a discount, and the podcast gets a kickback as well. So be sure to check out those links. Thank you very much for listening. Back to the show. All right, we are back. Technically, this wasn't intermission, but we'll go along with it. Jeff Bukantz is in the ring. He's thanking the crowd. He thanks some special guests from the crowd. They are going to have some award ceremony action here from NWA Exodus Pro. Jason Hendricks comes out and does a lap and leaves. That was what it was. We get footage from the second Maccabiah Mania as Freddie Blassie sings his classic Pencil Neck Geek. So we have Pencil Neck Geek Awards for the guitarist and the chorus sign holder, who evidently, like, both those guys were like very much upset Blassie. I'm not sure if that's kayfabe brother or not. But they get their awards. We get a Legends Award for Johnny Rods for his contributions to wrestling. Ken Patera is also honored at commentary, and there's a surprise award given to Jeff Bukantz. However, he's like, that's suspicious, and I don't deserve it. However, he notes that Gene Snitsky has been helping the Mighty Maccabee train, and so Bukantz brings Snitsky out and gives Snitsky the award. However, they are interrupted by Joseph in his amazing Technicolor business suit, or a guy named Andy Weinberg, the winner. I guess that's who he goes by. Weinberg runs down New Jersey and says that Crowbar and him will deliver the Maccabiah Championship to Vladimir Putin, which, I mean, I understand just going for America's, in theory, like, number one enemy. Well, I mean, without getting into politics, allegedly America's number one enemy. But, like, Weinberg is not Russian at all. Like, he's just a guy from Jersey with a Technicolor business suit. So I thought that was weird, and obviously Crowbar has no connection to Mother Russia either. We do get an attempt to sing the Russian national anthem, despite Nikolai Volkov not being there. However, Snitsky has enough and runs off Weinberg. Snitsky speeches and or does stand-up, whatever you want to call it, but notes that what happens to Crowbar tonight will definitely be their fault. We get a proper intermission where we get to see the Maccabiah Mania the Maccabiah title, Maccabiah Championship match between the Mighty Maccabee and Iron Sheik from the second Maccabiah Mania. So the proper intermission. I'm going to skip over that because you can buy the DVD if you really want to see that match. Leads us up to Colt Cabana's Boom Boom Challenge. Brian Zane comes up to introduce the challengers. Like, he knows that he's retired, so he's not going to take part in this, but he introduces the new Backseat Boys. Because it doesn't say, it's just an open championship fight for the Jewish American Championship. And so Zayn just like finds the loophole of anybody in the back and brings out the new Backseat Boys. So it looks like it's going to be a handicap match, and Colt is significantly bigger than both these guys. And like, don't get me wrong, like, Colt's the size of a proper athlete, but, like, Colt isn't that big. It shouldn't be, like, a mound of muscle compared to these two dudes. Just kind of saying there. Anyway, so Colt takes them both down with ground-based attacks. Zayn eventually trips Cabana, allowing the Backseat Boys to take advantage. Tags are evidently now a thing. Like, so we're down to, like, the tag rule of a handicap match. No 2-on-1 beatdown. The Backseats exhibit tandem offense, show why they are the JCW Tag Team Championship holders. Man, I butchered that sentence. Anywho, yeah, so Colt mounts a comeback culminating in one backseat DDTing the other off a Colt Cabana clothesline. Bionic elbows for everyone. Zayn is up on the ring apron distracting the ref and the camera guy, so we totally miss Shattered Dreams, and I only assume it's Shattered Dreams because Colt has gone for it like twice this match, so Shattered Dreams, I assume. The Backseats try to take a count-out victory. However, the unpredictable Johnny Rodz, living up to his nickname, comes out and starts hammering away on everybody on the entryway. That's not a DQ for whatever reason, or a countout for that matter. We slowly make our way to the ring, and I don't know what really happens because the camera is really focused on Brian Zayn and Johnny Rodz, but we come back to see that the Backseats have been pinned by Colt Cabana. So your winner, Colt Cabana. Yeah, like this. This, like, as much as I wanted to enjoy this match, it was probably, like, the worst match of the night just because of, like, the camera work. Like, we missed the entirety of the finish for this here match. So I don't know what happened. I just know that Brian Zayn got worked over by Johnny Rodz, and we'll find out that Brian Zayn is in traction later. And by traction, I mean he has a neck brace, of course. Following this match, we have the ISPW Championship match as GKM defends against Ray Calitri. I'm going to butcher that one all night, folks. And we're not fixing it because editing is not a thing until you guys pay me more money to do this. So there's your incentive. Please don't stop listening because I don't edit things. Just give me $2 on Patreon. It's fine. It's not that much money. We're not in that much of a recession yet. Anyway, yeah. So we get some skippage issues in the stream. When it corrects itself, we are fighting outside the ring. Calitri hits a basement DDT for 2 and goes for a couple of random pins from there. Romanski is upset over Calitri's hot dogging, and Patera is amused by, like, this shift in attitude. Like, seriously, dude is upset by the amount of, like, playing to the crowd the guy does instead of going for pins. And it is kind of amusing just how upset he gets, and then just Patera's just letting him go off for the most part. Ace Crusher out of nowhere. GKM starts bringing the strikes, ending with a big spinning heel kick. Diving Frog cross body style gets 2 by GKM. Gets some back and forth action as GKM's Codebreaker gets 2 count as well. We are trading pinfalls back and forth, ending with a flash victory roll for GKM to retain the championship. In the process of that, like, I'm not sure where it happened, whether it was all the roll-ups or prior to that, but GKM seems to have injured himself. So a handful of, we'll call them road agents, including a friend of the show, Ace Darling, go to the ring and check up on him. He is limping pretty hard, but does make his way to the back under his own power, showing off the championship belt as he goes along. At this point, Brian Zayn returns to commentary and complains about being in traction. We get a brief announcement announcing the upcoming retirement of Jim Molyneux. He has been in the business for 30 years, so we wish him the best in retirement when that nebulous date occurs. Before we go to Buddy Thomas versus Doink the Clown. Yes, it wouldn't be an indie show without Doink the Clown. We do get some legit graps to start before the Doink the Clown tomfoolery begins. Buddy then channels his redacted with an umbrella-assisted old school palm strikes and a running whoopee cushion gives Doink the victory. The match itself was derp, but it's Doink. What did you expect? And any Doink that isn't Matt Bourne is kind of a derp match. But again, if you like this shtick, you'll be mildly entertained by this match. I was mildly entertained by this match, trying to figure out who Doink the Clown was, because I don't think it was Ray Apollo, and it definitely wasn't Matt Bourne. So that leaves Brooklyn Brawler and Steve Kern. Not really, because every indie's got a doink, or at least every indie, worth its weight in salt has a doink. This leads us to our main event of the evening, as Crowbar with Andy Weinberg takes on the Mighty Maccabee for the Maccabiah Championship, one of the longest reigning title holders in wrestling history, by the way. Crowbar is dressed to fight, no tights, he's got jeans and one of his padded, tight-fitting tops. Crowbar's blows are being deflected right away by the Mighty Maccabee, almost like fencing defenses, as is put over on commentary, and immediately goes for the Star of David. Like, prior to this match, Maccabee is promoting this new movie learned, the Star of David, and it looks to be a modified Cobra Clutch. At least that's how he's got it set up going for it at this point. Crowbar fires back briefly, but falls victim to a low crossbody for 2. Maccabee goes to the eyes and hits a hip toss, then eliminates Crowbar from the Rumble, sending him over the top rope to the arena floor. Crowbar is brought in the hard way before getting locked in the Star of David. However, Weinberg distracts. There we go. Weinberg distracts, allowing Crowbar to go low while still in the Star of David. Guillotine leg drop over the bottom rope by Crowbar. Series of elbow drops lead to only a 2 count, though. Weinberg uses the foil to choke the Maccabee. I'm not familiar with fencing, really. Okay, I know it's like sword fighting with tiny little swords, but is that thing sharp? Could he have cut up the Mighty Maccabee? I got questions, man. Got questions. Crowbar, with the ref distracted, uses the fencing mask as a weapon, only gets 2 count off of that. Maccabee makes his comeback, sending Crowbar to the outside. Crowbar drags Maccabee outside and puts him down momentarily, just enough time to break out a guardrail and flip that into the ring. And of course, the rule of big weapons in the world of professional wrestling is he who smelt it dealt it, of course. And Crowbar is sent into the guardrail Irish whip style 3 times before Crowbar sends Maccabee throat first onto the top rope. We are breaking out the chairs now, making a makeshift table. Maccabee is put on it, and then just it all tumbles over because the guardrail is kind of not in great shape because Crowbar kept crashing into it. However, we get it set up. Maccabee, second wind, third wind, fourth wind, something like, either way, presses Crowbar off the top rope, slamming him onto the guardrail. The Star of David is locked in, and in the process of this, the ref gets squished. Weinberg comes in with Crowbar's pipe and just wails away and chokes away at Maccabee as Crowbar gets a table set up. Gene Snitsky comes out, chokeslams Crowbar through the table. Star of David is locked in as the referee is revived. Crowbar is out cold. The winner, and still the forever Maccabiah champion, the Mighty Maccabee. And this match was an overbooked mess, but if you expected anything else, you have learned nothing from this evening. And I'm just going to throw it there that Crowbar, friend of the show Crowbar, could have a match with a broomstick and make it worthwhile. And, I had fun during this match too. Yes, was it cheesy? Yeah, but considering let you in a little secret, Maccabee's not a real wrestler, ladies and gentlemen, and 2, hasn't had a match in 28 years. So, that is what it is. But Crowbar done his darndest to make sure this match was presentable and entertaining, and I think he made it. Overall, that was Maccabiah Mania 3, the last hurrah. It didn't, it had the charm of earlier Maccabiah Manias, and obviously we got some throwbacks, a lot of callbacks, but as a whole, thanks to the involvement of ISPW, I think the show ran a lot smoother and was a bit better put together, which is very much important and keeps it out of the dollar bin. But I felt like even the matches that weren't good, which, let's be real, that was half of them, they served their purpose and they were entertaining. Were they, they weren't, that I say they're entertaining, they were actually entertaining, not just so bad we're gonna laugh at it. It was shtick. It was a lot of shtick, and so if shtick's not your thing, yeah, you're not gonna like this. But it was a decent enough show with enough callbacks to to actually let everyone know that this is a Grandmasters of Wrestling adjacent type show, put on with reverence for the material. And once again, this is part of a fundraising series, so we can't you can't poop on it all that much anyway. But I had fun watching it. It was free, so go check it out. YouTube, Wrestling with Wregret. But yeah. So we're gonna call that good. Got that show taken care of. Got some names coming in the upcoming weeks. So the indie spotlight is taking a backseat for a bit. So if all goes according to plan, we got the Greek god Theseus coming up next week. We have Midwest standout Calvin Kelly in 2 weeks, and we're going to end the month with old wrestling founder and independent standout in his own right, Marion Fontaine. So keep on listening. We've got some cool interviews coming up in the near future. In the meanwhile, I would be remiss if I didn't tell you to stay tuned for the plugs and the best ways to help support this here small podcast. And I'll see you guys next week. The Confusion Wrestling Podcast is a weekly podcast that is written and performed by Rob Kammer and hosted by Spotify for podcasters. The background music for this section is Ruined by Day, performed by Alan Schroeder. If you enjoyed this podcast and would like to help support, please like, subscribe, and tell your friends, family, and enemies. Leaving a review is helpful as well, because word-of-mouth advertisement is very important for us small podcasts. My social media links can be found in the description, but Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky are at The Nova of Cass. That's TheNovaofCass, and Facebook is MLW Confusion, all one word. If you'd like to support monetarily and help upgrade my equipment, please check out my virtual tip jar at ko-fi.com/Casanova, or if you prefer more bang for your buck, go to patreon.com/Casanova, that's CASSONOVA, where for as little as $2, backers get access to the podcast early and without those pesky ads, plus other exclusive content. So join the crew that is headed up by Keith Wynn, Alan Schroeder, Chris Zach, and Elenia, and check it out. You can also find t-shirts, coffee mugs, and other merch at the Confusion Podcast store on Teespring. Also, be sure to check out the affiliate links in the description below. For business inquiries such as ads, sponsorships, and etc., please email rzkamer, Kamerer, at comcast.net. Thank you all for listening.